In the chain of cybersecurity, the weakest link is the human being. So how do we protect our infrastructure? How do we protect our economy from the escalating cyber risks, which are becoming more and more complex, more and more pervasive? Now with the advent of AI, one of the most the most used cyber hack method is phishing emails, where you get a suspicious email that lures you to click a link or to download malware onto your device, and then information is stolen. Now, back those days, where those days is give or take 5 years or 10, back in those days, these emails were very, very obvious. Clear spelling mistakes, grammar mistakes, errors in email address. And so a novice would look at it, or even not necessarily a novice, but someone would look at this email and would know clearly that this is a suspicious email. But today, with AI, which can auto-generate very authentic-looking emails, the phishing attacks have increased exponentially. So yes, as much as AI is it's the silver bullet tool that everyone is using, so are the bad actors. And so they are crafting very believable emails, very believable websites. With just one prompt, you can create and clone a website. So you can clone the login of your banking application on the fly, and then you can lure someone into giving away their critical information. And so how do we protect human beings? Because that will not be caught by your firewall. That will not be caught by any cybersecurity software you install in your organization. It is the human being. And so one of the critical ways in which we have been trying to curb that gap, which is the human being gap, is through awareness. By having these awareness campaigns. In Uganda, we have been having Cybersecurity Month every year for the last, I think, 5 years. But what has that moved the needle at all in the protecting of our general public from cybersecurity risks? That remains to be seen. So what's so different about this campaign from all the other campaigns we have had? And I think that is a thing that we need to address, which is the awareness to action gap. Yes, I'm aware that these are the risks out there, but how am I triggered into action? To behaving more securely, knowing that my information can be used against me. And so we need to use this word loosely, to dumb down the language, to dumb down the information so that it is digestible by the ordinary person who really doesn't care about their privacy. And understanding that they need to care, because today it might be worthless, but tomorrow that information might cause them to lose a lot of money. And so this language, and it's not an impossible task. We did it in healthcare, okay? Many of you in your high school, you were taught hygiene. Now hygiene, if you think about it from a medical standpoint, is a very complex thing. But it was simplified to be taught to young children to keep diseases away. The way diseases affect the human body is a thing for studies. Doctors study that for 5 years and beyond. But how do you teach young people who can barely speak a word of English practices that can keep them safe and keep diseases away from them by teaching them simple things that they can do to keep their lives healthy? I believe the same approach needs to happen with cybersecurity. If we think of cybersecurity breaches as diseases, what are those cyber hygiene practices that we need to adopt that make cybersecurity a second nature practice? I believe that will bridge the awareness to action gap. Rather than telling people, oh, you need to download a firewall, you need to download change your password, make it more complex. Look, no matter how complex your password is, a hacker will just smile and hack you through a phishing email. I read a report a number of years ago, and that report says the hackers don't need your password to hack you. That's why all these major services, Google, Facebook, are going passwordless, because now passwords are becoming the new easy, low-hanging opportunity to hack. Because all I need to do is to phish, and you're the one who gives me your very complex password, which includes your grandfather's name. So A good hacker doesn't need your password. You will give it to them willingly. And so passwords have become a very big vulnerability. So now services are moving passwordless. We are looking at things like using security chips and multi-factor authentication. But how do you explain multi-factor authentication to a 12-year-old person who's just creating a Snapchat account? How do you teach them that having multi-factor authentication on your Snapchat account is for your own benefit before you start posting your location and where your family is for a hacker to take advantage of? You may not be the target. The hacker might be targeting your parent, who is a senior executive at a very lucrative organization. And so by hacking the child, they can get access to the parent. The child does not know this. And so cybersecurity is now becoming a family matter. It is no longer an individual matter, a family matter at the most basic level. At a corporate level, as an organization, you are only as strong as your weakest link. You might spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on a very expensive security system. Then someone comes in with a flash disk and brings down the whole organization. This is not a myth. I have seen it happen. Back in my very active cybersecurity days when we used to do investigations, an entire government organization of 200 plus computers was brought to its knees by one flash disk, bypassing all the security protocols that they had done. How do we protect? So we need to move from awareness to action. And so one of the key ingredients from moving from awareness to action is in simplification. How do we make cyber hygiene as easy as health hygiene? You know that after visiting a toilet, you wash your hands. I hope that's not news to anyone here. But let's assume everyone knows that as a basic thing. So what is the equivalent of that for cybersecurity? What is the equivalent of washing your hands in cybersecurity? Does it mean two-factor authentication? What language can we introduce in our campaigns, in our security campaigns, that make it aware, that make it easy? One of the countries that I feel that have done this really well, actually there are two, there's South Korea and there's the UK. In the UK, cybersecurity is taught in elementary school with cartoons and with crayons, with books, and it's simple things that you do online. I remember I studied, we did a benchmark study of one of the UK's anti-cyberbullying campaigns. And they used very simple language, very child-friendly language to bring awareness to a child who is being cyberbullied so that they can speak up and action is taken. How do we do that? How do we use this campaign to bridge that gap? And so I believe here, as they said, this is not a lecture room. You're not here to listen to people talk and then you walk away. What are the interactions? What conversations can we have on our tables that can help us move the needle in securing the weakest link in cybersecurity, which is the human being? And so one of the challenges that I want to leave us is that thought. How do we simplify this over the long haul? So I want to leave us with just about maybe 6 main points on how to best protect us. So I've talked about the language. How do we use the language? How do we simplify the language to make sure that something is practiced? We underestimate the power of language. Language is a unifying factor. That's why all the largest countries in the world have one language. Because the only way to unify a people is through common language. So if we're to unify ourselves around this issue of cybersecurity and protecting ourselves, what's that language? What does it sound like? How can we develop language that's simple enough to make sure we are involving as many people as possible, not just the techies? Because one of the biggest, speaking as a techie, so before anyone feels attacked, I'm also a techie. Speaking as a techie, we like our acronyms, you know? You want to go into a room and half your words are acronyms. And you are leaving people lost. The people who know. The people who don't know are uninterested. So how do we simplify that language? And then the second thing that I'd want to leave with us is a simple framework that we can use to help us be safe online. An action framework. You could call it an action framework. Remember, I'm talking from awareness to action. And so action meaning you identify what your personal data is. So you should know that, look, this is personal data, and I thank Becca, for giving us that broad stroke view of what personal data is. I remember some years ago when we were called to consult on the law, and we were in a workshop, and we were talking about what are the characteristics of personal data. And they looked at me interestingly. I'm like, look, if you have CCTV in a room, people should be aware that they are being recorded. That's why if you go to certain countries, they identify their CCTV cameras with luminous, yellow, brightly colored signs saying that you're being recorded. Why is that? It's because of data privacy reasons. You shouldn't go to a room and the security cameras are hidden. You have to ask yourself, what's the purpose? And yet it's taking your likeness. So if they use that data, your personal data that was captured without your consent, then there's all those sorts of interesting things. So now someone will ask, if I see the camera, is that consent? But that's an argument we can take to Becca's office later on. Just food for thought. So anyway, understanding what your personal footprint is, whether it's personal data, whether it is corporate data, what does your data footprint look like? Can you account for all your data? I was having an argument with a government body, which I'll not name, and after this, the Electronic Signatures Act of 2011 is more than 20 years ago, 2011, and we were still arguing on, admissibility of a digitally signed document. And I was giving them my point of view. It's like, look, I'm trying to keep my digital footprint low. You're telling me to sign a paper. Can you account? Let me ask this question in the room, and this I don't think is rhetorical. Can you account for all the documents you've ever signed with your signature? Huh? No, anyone who can account, please put your hand up. It's like you can account for all the documents you've ever signed. No one in the room. Don't you think that's scary? Is it just me who thinks that is scary? Someone might pull up a document you signed in court and says, this is your signature. And even you look at it and say, hey, this is actually my signature. But you have no recollection of what the contents of the document were and what you are approving. And so that's the heart behind some of these laws. That if you have electronic signatures, there's a log file somewhere that keeps track of everything you've signed. I personally, from 2018, I can account for every signature apart from my transactions with that said government body. I can account for all my signatures because they are electronic and they are stored somewhere. And interestingly, I can revoke. So if the conditions of what I was signing change, I can revoke my signature because it is electronic. So the point I'm making is that we all have a digital footprint, but we can't account for it. And so how are we supposed to protect you if you don't know your own digital footprint? Which increases every day, by the way. Statistics, or as of maybe 2 years ago, is that each individual accumulates about 20 GB worth of data every day through your emails that you get, your interactions, the steps that you make, your movement, your cell movements, all that. If you are to account for it, you're accumulating 20 GB worth of digital data. The question is, who has that data and how is it being protected? And how can it be used against you if you don't know? And so the first step is awareness, to know the footprint that you hold. And so from the 6 points that I promised you is to know your data. Do you know your data? Before asking someone to protect it, or before being asked to protect it, do you know your own data? The second point is having real accountability. Now here I'm now moving away from yourself. You will run an organization or you play a role in an organization. Who is responsible? Who is accountable? Remember the RACI model, RACI. Who is responsible? Who is accountable? Who is consulted? Who is informed? As regards that data, whether personal or corporate, is there a RACI model in your organization to know who to talk to or who to hold responsible or who to inform or who to consult when it comes to data? Why? Because the hacker knows. The hacker knows where the data is, who to hack, and where to get it. The average duration, I don't know whether it's still the same. I need to polish up on my data. But the average duration of a hack used to be 300 days. I'm sure it's less now. It's maybe about 200. Meaning by the time you see an incident, you're 200 days late. The hack has been on your system. He has understood the flow of information, the flow of approvals, and has prepared his trap and has sprung into action. So by the time you see an incident, you're 200 days late. So, do you know who the right person, who the accountable person in the organization is? And is it written? All this talks then about compliance and all these other things. The third point is to, once you know your data footprint, you know the data, you know who's responsible, it's now to assign the necessary controls and to reduce incidences. One of the key activities I used to do as a consultant is to help an organization understand not all information is classified. Because if all information is classified, then you have to protect it as such. You will not function as a business. Some information is open, other information is closed, other information is top secret. So you have a document classification system. That helps you then know where to apply resources, because not every organization has limitless resources to protect all its data. So you then have to classify your data to understand which is critical data to my organization, of which if I lost this data, I will have a regulatory consequence, a financial consequence, or a reputational consequence. And then you classify your data accordingly, and then apply the appropriate protections to the classification. So when you have open data that is public anyway, you shouldn't apply all the hectic security protocols on it. So you're spending wisely on the areas you need to spend on. So that's then an action that you can take. Having known the data, known who's responsible, then start taking the appropriate action based on the classification of that data. The fourth point is to train the people. Not to train them for knowledge, but to train them for behavioral change. That's a very key thing. Most of the organizations that I've interacted with, yours might be different, most of the interactions that of the interactions I've had with organizations, they train for knowledge. It's a checkbox. Did these people train about phishing? Yes, they did. Did you put up the banners about phishing emails? Yes, we did. Yet you're still being hacked, yet you're still being phished. So you're not training for behavior change, you're just training to check a box. How do you change your perspective to start training for behavior change? How do you measure behavior change? Does any organization here measure behavior change? Okay. Seems I still have work. I can remain as chair. Anyway, do you understand that if you don't change for behavioral change, then you're just, there's a famous writer who says, culture, it's strategy for breakfast. You can have all the best strategies, you can be ISO 27000 certified and still be the most hacked organization. Why? Because you're just checkbox. There's no behavioral change on the weakest link in your organization. And so again, as we talk about info awareness campaigns, are they designed for behavior change? When we learned about hygiene in school, that was designed for behavior change. So much so that when you grow up and you find a child not washing their hands, it's a social issue. You can decide to discipline your neighborhood's child, a child in the neighborhood, because they didn't wash their hands. Why? Because it's a cultural thing. We have adopted it as a culture, that this is the thing that keeps us as a community safe. What does that look like for cybersecurity? The fifth point is to understand your attack surface. You know what's happening internally, you know the systems that you have internally, but what are those things external? Who are your vendors? What access do they have to your systems? Is this chaperoned access? Do you know what they are doing when they're in your system? You have support partners, people you call in when you have an issue. And you know when you have an issue is when you throw all cares to the wind. It's like, the system is down, call so-and-so, let them camp here until it comes up. You don't search him when he enters your organization. You don't know what he has brought in, you don't know what he has taken out. As long as it's not hardware. But can you account for the same for software? He could live with your whole password file if you have a password file. So, do we keep track of our third-party vendors? Do we have are we tight marking them? Because one of the biggest risks that come into an organization is from outsiders, where there is a mismatch, and I'm not accusing party vendors directly. There might be a risk just from mismatched standards. You have very high standards as an organization, but your providers do not. There's a very massive hack in the US by a third-party insurance provider of an airline. And not because they were incompetent, it's just that they had mismatched security policies. What was permissible in one organization was not in another. And so this other person came with their blueprint, came with their policies in mind into an organization with a different culture, and that led to a breach because there was a mismatch in policies. And so can we account for our third-party vendors and understand the attack surface and protect it appropriately? Is there a system within your organization that keeps track of your attack surface? Where can attack surface, sorry, I'm being techie again. Attack surface is look at the landscape of your systems. Where can an attack come from? Can it come from your website? Can it come from your database that runs the organization? Can it come from your Wi-Fi? And it's a password of 1234. Can it come from wherever it comes from? Or can it come from people in your organization tethering? Do you allow tethering in your organization? I'm not saying it's bad, but do you allow it? So that means you connect a corporate organization to a private internet access. And there, that is an attack surface because you've neatly organized your corporate network to have access to the internet from the corporate network. Until someone complains, the company internet is too slow, I'm going to tether. And it is faster. And they're well within their rights to demand for faster internet, but they don't know that they have just exposed your entire organization into an internet access that has not been vetted. I'm just giving random examples from cases I've handled that bring these things up. And then finally, to build incident readiness. If you're waiting for an incident to happen to create a team to handle it, then you're already too late. Like with any other security-related matter, you must have a team ready at all times. A team ready at all times to handle incidences. At what I was part of, last year I was part of a regional readiness exercise where we are taken into a war room, a cyber war room, and they emulated, attacks against at a national level, of course. But then they start from very minuscule things. You notice something small happening at the utility, an unpatched firewall or an unpatched router. Not a big incident, but who cares? At a national level, you have bigger things to worry about. But then that quickly escalates and spreads across multiple utility providers. Next thing you know, you have a national incident where power is out, water purification systems have been switched off, so the water is being poisoned. The telecommunication networks are overwhelmed because people are calling, wondering what's happening. And so to deal with that, are you trained to deal with that at the scale of your organization? That if a computer goes rogue, if you've been hacked, where do you pull the wires from? Do you have wires to pull anyway? So all these questions need to be asked in those scenarios when you have a team in place, an incident response team in place to handle when an issue happens, not if. Because if you think it is an issue of if, you'll always be laxed. But if it's an issue of when, you'll be prepared accordingly. So to recap quickly, for those who are writing notes, one is to know your data. We're moving from awareness to action. Know your data. Second is to assign accountability. Have a person within the organization who is accountable. Have a Raki model for your systems. 3 is to implement controls, minimum controls for your data, so that you have the appropriate data, appropriate systems are protected appropriately. 4 is to train your staff. Train the people, and the difference here is to train for behavioral change, not to train to check a box. Then 5 is to understand your threat surface, especially with third-party actors who are outside your jurisdiction of control. And then 6 is to build an incidents team, an incidents response team, so that you are ready. And so finally, as I conclude, what does readiness mean for you? What does readiness mean for you? The whole purpose of awareness and the whole purpose of moving from awareness to action is so that you are ready. The classic statement still holds true today, is that you have been hacked already as we speak right now. It's simply the hacker hasn't found value yet. Yeah. They're still looking for value. Until the duration of a hack is 200 days. That's more than half a year. It's just there seated looking, it's like, now this one, am I going to get value? Yeah, because there's a lot of fish in the net. So the hacker, you've been hacked already, the hacker hasn't found value yet. So what's the state of your readiness? Are you ready for an attack now? If so, what is your fallback plan? What's your disaster recovery plan? And so, as we launch out the Miracle Guard program, as we build awareness, let's work together. Let's make this as simple as hygiene. It's a form of cyber hygiene. That's actually a title of a book I wrote. Cyber hygiene, making cybersecurity simple for everyone to practice. Thank you very much. If the MC allows, I'll take questions, but if he doesn't, it's because he has beef.
Do we have any questions in the room? Yes, we do. I saw a hand up here. I'll come back to you in a minute.
Thank you very much for the insightful presentation. Personally, from your presentation, my life, I've tried to be cyber risk averse, but sometimes we are left with no option, especially by some of the agencies that collect our data. I'll point out NERA. NERA takes our fingerprints, facial images, iris, parents' names, your origin. So you find that if there is hacking, you have no identity. Your identity is stolen. Are you having those discussions with some of these agencies to minimize the data they are collecting? Because if you have my fingerprints, then you don't need my iris. I mean, at the moment, you're only left with my organs to come up with the second version of me. So I would like to know if you're advising these agencies on how much data they can collect. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the Registration of Persons Act. And by law, they are required because they have to identify you as a Ugandan. And in this increasingly digital age, they need all the information to know you as you, not what you say. So you say, I was born in Nigeria, but how do we know? And so, by law, they are required to collect that data. But then, I don't know whether this is good news or bad news. You give more data to Google than to NERA. Yeah, Google knows where you live. They know your favorite animal. They know what you searched yesterday and what you hide. They know everything. They know, the person, look, NERA is not the problem. Google, Facebook, Snapchat, all these guys are the problem because they have more data than your own country about you. So to answer your question, one, yes, we are having these conversations with NERA. They are actually members of the NISAG, and we engage with them very often. They actually put in significantly large amounts of investment in protecting it. But no investment is foolproof. I'm not saying they don't get hacked, but they're actually thinking about security of your data. Like Becca mentioned, there are government organizations that they work with very closely, and I'm sure NERA is one of them, being the largest collector of personal data in the country. So I'm sure they have conversations quite a lot. But the thing that your question has raised is who else are we giving this very information? Because we are shy to give it to NERA, but so willing to give it to Facebook. Yeah. You will be shocked what Facebook has about you. Go to your privacy settings and ask to download your Facebook data. If it's less than 50 GB, then you're a ninja. Yeah. Other than that, they have a lot of information. Then it's worse if you have an Android device and you use your fingerprint or your iris to open your phone. You have given them your fingerprint, you have given them your iris. So we are willingly giving other people this data, so we shouldn't just be worried about NIRA. There are other people who we don't even have access to, we don't know their office, to go and complain. So wow. the lesson to learn here is be accountable.
Thank you very much, Noah. Now that we are talking about particularly the users, it's actually very, very difficult to train a user. So I was asking, does NISAG have like a framework against which we can measure our readiness to fight threats, especially when it comes to users? Because we might think that we train them, we conduct awareness, and maybe they are with us. But when, in actual sense, there is nothing that has changed. And secondly, I also wanted to ask, NISAG had technical working groups. I don't know if it still does, where they included MDAs and other companies that would come together and suggest, maybe frameworks, go out and help people and make people learn. So I don't know if they still hold those sessions, but they used to be very helpful. I don't know.
Thank you for that. Your first question around user and engagement at the NISAG level. So a number of things changed from the formation of NISAG. When NISAG started, it had 7 members. And at that time, it was easy to coordinate and to call them out. But then, as Uganda became more digitized, we realized that there is a larger and larger national data footprint, which is critical. So just to define our scope is simply or strictly to critical infrastructure players. And those are not determined by individuals, determined by law and by function. So there are certain people who are mandated to be members of the NISAG by virtue of the infrastructure that they run. But because the membership became very big to manage, we now largely work through the regulators. And so it has been decentralized in such a way that cyber risk at a sector level is handled by the regulator. So for the energy sector, the NISAG member is ERA. For the telecommunication sector, the NISAG member, the primary, I'll use the word primary because some of the members are regulators for function reasons. But we work through regulators. So the regulator handles risk from that sector, and if it escalates to a national level, that's when NISAG gets invoked. And so that's the structure, and because we have now actually moved beyond the prescribed functions in the law, there is a new law that is being discussed and drafted, the Cybersecurity Act. The Cybersecurity Strategy, National Cybersecurity Strategy was passed by Cabinet, and so it is an active strategy. It's there on the NITA and the NITA and the Ministry of ICT website. You can look through it. And in there, you're going to see the strategy of how the NISAG becomes, the new roles that the NISAG is going to play, which include passing of a cybersecurity law, which will enshrine what the other laws did not capture directly. And because IT is an ever-evolving field, we need to be able to keep up with the risks that we see. And so that's why those meetings reduced in number. They are still happening, but with a select group of people. And now the regulators are now taking charge of the cyber risk in their area, so that allows the NISAG to focus on national risk. In terms of whether the users, at a user level, again, that's the challenge. And that's why I'm throwing the challenge in a room like this. Yes, we are doing training. Yes, we are doing awareness. But how are you measuring behavior change? Because if you're not measuring, you don't know how effective you're being. And so the challenge I'm throwing to the people here, which is the same challenge I throw to the NISAG members, is how do you measure behavior change? First of all, it is important, like many of us are learning today, to be able to know that training does not mean behavior change. So we need to change our training programs to capture behavior change. Then secondly, how do we measure behavior change? So if you can measure it, you know what to improve. I hope I've answered both your questions somehow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, good morning. My name is Joseph Sevume. I'm from Kasita, Uganda.
Yeah.
I represent a client of Ugandans that use financial services a lot, but as you can imagine, they are a bit informal. My question to you is it possible for us to hold some of these legal clinics downtown? Why? Because, as you know, that is it's a hub of business activity in Uganda, and whenever there's a problem downtown, the ripple effects move up to uptown. So I'm wondering if it's possible for us to be able to engage and have some of these talks downtown.
Definitely,
Thank you so
definitely. As an ISAG, our secretariat is actually NITA, and so through NITA, through the secretariat, we can organize these clinics for our clientele downtown. Yes, sir.
Yes, thank you. My question and concern goes to what role do service providers in the country play in terms of cybersecurity, because these are the doorway to the outside world. And are they here to account, or I don't know if you involve them in your meetings to ensure that the country is safe?
Yes, they play a very critical role, and sometimes, unfortunately, we have to go directly to the service provider to do remedial actions in case there's an incident. But like I mentioned before, the service providers will have an overarching regulator. So for example, if it's a financial service provider, their regulator, Bank of Uganda, is a member of the NISAG. And so we use the regulator because, why do we work with that model? Because there are certain jurisdictions. I've experienced cases, a number of them, where you go to an organization and say you're from the NISAG, and you get a confused look because they've never had NISAG before. Yet you're coming in with all the powers and all the demands, and they're like, who are you? And so we realized that in that whole back and forth of trying to legitimize, to bring the legitimacy of NISAG, even though it's there in the law, it takes a lot of time, and we lose a lot of critical, incident response time. And so by working with a regulator, we are able to move quickly. And so the regulator already has jurisdictional mandate to implement. There was a recent incident in one of the sectors where, for example, let me give you a gap. One of the gaps we have in cybersecurity is mandatory disclosure. There is no law that mandates an organization to report that they have been hacked. Yet that information is very critical to prevent other people from getting hacked. But then, as NISAG, we know that it's a critical practice, and as members, we have that rapport. We have an understanding as members. But then outside the membership, there is no with regulators, but by the time the NISAG is working with the regulator, that means there's a gap that was faced with the service provider. There was a gap with the regulator. However, our preference is to work with the regulator because the regulator already has legal mandate to make certain demands of the regulatee. So whether the service provider is financial, utility, etc.
Thank you. Because of time, I have to move on to the next session. Please give a big hand clap to Noah as he steps down. And just a quick reminder for our audience that's joining us live on TV and on Afro Mobile that you can actually pick up this conversation and be able to follow it at your convenience. You can download the Afro Mobile app and be able to rewind and go back and catch Noah's presentation as well as Becca's and everything else that we've been talking about. We're going to have a quick panel conversation with a few people just to get some insights in terms of what's happening there. And even as I invite my panel to join me, I will also give a minute, and strictly a minute, to Vincent Mangeni, who is in charge of ICT at the National Planning Authority, to come and tell us what sort of plans have been put in place in Uganda. We're usually accused of take their seats so we can have just a very brief conversation. Catherine Bwire, who is head of information security and data privacy at EcoBank Uganda. Please give her a big, big hand clap, even as she comes to join me on the panel. I've got Godfrey Sebwamukoko, who is chairman of the ISP Association of Uganda, that is the Internet Services Providers Association of Uganda. You're welcome, sir. Thank you for joining us. And finally, I'll invite Davis Otieno, who is Manager Compliance and Investigations at PDPO. So please give me a big, big, big hand as they come to join me.
NBS happening now.
So come very briefly and tell us.
Breaking news.
Protect him and his family. As I say this, I say this for God and my country.
May we give a better hand clap to the Right Honourable Speaker. The Right Honourable Speaker and the second National Vice Chairperson of the party, to me, I keep thanking you and congratulating you. Because comrades like Sivambi and others